I currently feel like I'm dressed like someone I would have a crush on, which is just a grand metaphor because when you are single, you have to feel the need somewhere.
Yep, that's me.
Hello, beautiful bookish people. My name is Hannah, and today we're doing a recent reads, and we're telling you all about the books that I got recommended on Among Us.
So, about a month ago, I went on to the game Among Us trying to ask strangers for book recommendations, and here are the results.
The glass castle! We got one! Guys, we got one! So today we're reviewing those 4 books that we got recommended in Among Us. If you haven't checked out that video, it's honestly one of my favorites. I think it's really fun. But today, we're not talking about Among Us today. We're talking about those books that internet strangers wanted me to read. Let's just get it started off with Crank. Now, Crank is a poetry book, and I want to start off by saying that poetry is very subjective. Poetry is like wine. I might love rosé, and you might love a Pinot Noir. I don't even know if that is a type of wine. I just wanted to sound fancy. But my point is, we all have different palates. We all have different tastes. Everything is different for everybody. And all that being said, this sucked. I hated almost every second of this book. This is that type of wine that you forgot was in your fridge and you assumed it would have aged well, but it's sparkling, and so when you drink it, it's flat. See, I'm not messing around. I'm coming in with the metaphors right off the bat. So this book follows a girl on a downward journey with drugs, specifically meth. And I don't feel bad about spoiling the metaphor for you because Crank literally does so within 50 pages. Hold on, let me find it. Page 68, she goes, okay, we used to do coke till just say no put the stuff out of reach. Now it's Crank. Meth, the monster. It's a bitch on the body, but damn do you fly. And I'm like, why would you give away your metaphor like that? I can literally close the book and not continue to read the rest of it. And it's frustrating because I think metaphors should have different interpretations of the meaning. The author can have theirs, but what if I don't think that the Crank is meth? What if I think Crank is her abusive parents? But no, Ellen Hopkins wants you to know that meth is the Crank. It's the monster. Insert Gabby Hanna meme, please.
I'm the monster that's been here all along.
Because I feel like the point of a metaphor is I should be able to gain different meanings out of it because we all have different life experiences. But when the metaphor is so plainly laid out for me, I think it's stupid. And I know that this book is supposed to display her journey with meth, specifically her daughter's journey with meth. But to me, it just felt like a Scary Straight type of story because nothing good happens to this character. Her parents suck. She moves in with her father who introduces her to drugs. She has sex for the first time and immediately gets pregnant with a meth baby. And I don't want to get you confused. I'm not condoning drugs. I do not think you should shoot heroin whatsoever. I'm just simply saying I don't believe anything that happened in this book.
Wow.
Hannah, tell me why this book was nothing but a mistake. Tell me why.
Because you're telling me and not showing me everything. And I don't even think like poetry limits storytelling. I've read amazing books with introspection and character development that only have 50 words. I just think these words are shallow. The words that Ellen Hopkins chooses are very plain and simple, which is fine. It leads me to not have anything to attach to. I want you to tell me why you felt the need to do drugs. I want you to tell me why your parents suck. I want you to tell me why the school system is failing. But when you just say, I needed drugs because my parents suck, I need to know the why. It can be a stupid reason too. I just need to know. Otherwise, what you're saying to me is not tangible. And I think that's the problem with this book is like it's not trying to talk about too much because it has a very specific story, but the way it's talked about gives me absolutely nothing to work with. But I think it loses its validity because it never tells you the why, and because of its complete and utter straightforwardness, loses like the human element, which sounds harsh. I'm very sorry, but yeah, I would not recommend Crank. I had an awful time reading this book. So sorry to that person who recommended it to me. Like, they're gonna see this. I don't care. This book sucked. Moving on to the book. The next book I want to talk to you about is Nightjohn, which when I first got recommended this book, I thought it was going to be a lofty classic, but it turns out it's just a short book about slavery. So Nightjohn is about this guy named Nightjohn. He is a freed slave, but he chooses to come back so he can teach other slaves at the plantation to read. But they have to be very careful because if they get caught, some of their body parts will be chopped off. But what inevitably happens is they get caught and Sarnie is to blame, but someone else takes the fall for her because of the valuable lesson that we need to encourage the youth to keep enriching their mind. I want to say this, first and foremost, this book reeks of required reading because I totally understand why someone would bring this book up in class, and especially for middle school, because this is the same author as Hatchet. It's only 90 pages. It's talking about an important issue. It's not going to lose your interest, especially for someone who is in middle school. It's talking about the precursors to the Civil War. Suffice to say, what I see in this book is a valuable teaching tool rather than like anything else. Because did I learn anything? Not really, but it's also not for me. Because I do like the messages of these books. It's about how the value of learning is timeless. And I think it also serves as a great reminder that sometimes the only way to escape oppression is to arm yourself with tools, such as reading to make sure that you can maintain independence. Would I involve it in a curriculum? Sure. Would I recommend it? Not really. That's what I have to say about Nightjohn. Moving on. Dance break. You got through my Ellen Hopkins rant. You're doing great, sweetie. Alright, the next book that strangers on the internet from Among Us recommended was The Glass Castle, which was very exciting to me because I already owned it. We didn't have to go out of my way to find resources, and we love that. The Glass Castle is about this girl named Jeanette whose family is kind of always on the run from society. Her parents don't believe in like traditional structure of a nuclear family. They're kind of always on the run from police and bill collectors, so they're forced to live in the woods and places that no one's ever heard of, or the back ends of cities. And I think it truly is a story about how sometimes seemingly very open-minded people can be very close-minded in their own ways. And the Glass Castle is kind of this metaphor because the father of the family is always talking about how he is going to build this glass castle, this seemingly empty promise, this transparent, empty wish that inevitably never happens. So, like his promise of building his children a glass castle, it's translucent and you can see through it. That's right, we're an English major. We get metaphors, that's right. And I think the thing I really wanted more of in this book is introspection. I love introspection, but I think you can tell that Jeanette was a journalism major because you just kind of get dialogue. You don't get really much setup. You don't get those internalized feelings for anything. But the upside of not getting any introspection is it allows the reader to kind of make their own decisions about what they believe in. Because, like, I think it will surprise you what you agree with and what you disagree with. And I think that's what this book does really well, is it makes you internalize and analyze like how you feel and how you would do things different in certain situations. But because everything is just plain and simple, it's just the facts, I never know how Jeanette feels in any situation. Do you see my conundrum? It didn't do what I wanted, but because it didn't do what I wanted, I became the introspective one. Is that what I needed? But because we didn't get that like introspection element, I never could form like a true connection to anybody, which is what I crave in a memoir, which is why I gave it 3 stars. So next leads us to our last and final book that strangers on the internet recommended. I don't know why I feel the need to keep saying that, but I do. The book they recommended was Apollo, or The Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan, The Hidden Oracle. And I want to start by saying I love Rick Riordan. In my eyes, I kind of think he can do no wrong, which
no.
is not very nuanced of me, but he's just a great guy. This book follows Apollo as he is exiled from Mount Olympus because of the events that happened in the Heroes of Olympus series. The big bad villain of Heroes of Olympus series was Octavian, and that was Apollo's son. So Zeus blames Apollo, and so he says, you must become immortal, complete your trials, and then you can again become a god. And so that's what these books are, is just Apollo being immortal and being sassy. I wanna start by saying what I really enjoyed about this book is that I really think that Rick Riordan is good at mixing in modern references with mythology. Like I remember in Sea of Monsters, like there's a very slight reference to how Blackbeard is the son of Ares, and it makes complete and utter sense. So like in this one, I think there's a reference to like 2011 Britney Spears MTV performance and how Apollo was the inspiration for that. And I think that's really good because it just gives you just a taste of how expansive these worlds are, and it lets you imagine what the gods could have inspired or who is the son of who in history. And I love that element because with such a small detail, it makes the imagination unlimited. And I think Rick Riordan is really good at that. I'm also really excited to see Apollo and Meg's journey as it continues. Meg has glasses, and we love glasses representation. Am I right, people? We're all readers. We understand. Glasses representation is important. But I want to say I do not think that this is Rick Riordan's best book. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I honestly think it was too long. I think it's because I just came off of a reread of the first Percy Jackson books, and in that series, every character, every chapter, every sentence is important to expand the overall story. So I found myself surprised that there were quite a few moments where I was like, yeah, this could be cut. And I think that is because in the Trials of Apollo, there's not a true objection. There's not a true goal until about 75% of the way in, which is significant, to say the least. We don't know what we're supposed to be doing here at Camp Half-Blood until 75% into the book. Little too long, Rick Riordan. Just a little. Because getting Apollo to Camp Half-Blood, seeing Percy, while it's great and a good time, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing here. We know Apollo was banished. We know that he is supposed to be proving his worthiness, but we don't know the why yet.
And as we've established already in this video, you need to tell me why.
But there's no quest, there's no mission, and there's not really a purpose, or the purpose is not revealed until the end of the book, which is surprising. Usually Rick Riordan hits you with a quest and a prophecy right at the beginning, but I think he just leaves you hanging for just a little too long in this book. And I think that's my big one complaint, is that yeah, it's fun, it's just a jaunty ride, but I needed that big bad guy reveal just a little sooner. That is the end of this video. Thank you to all those random people on Among Us who recommended this. I feel like it's a pretty wide array of books. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Keep reading and all that jazz. If you will. And I don't what? This one I got upset because the words don't have rhythm, but I won't bother you with that. Dear Theodosia, what to say to you? Does that make sense? I think so. I think my rambling is making just the semblance of sense. We gotta do a thumbnail. Stop. I look cute. I'm like not mad at my face today. Pretty exciting. I love wearing polos because it makes me feel like Gansey.